Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the How to Script series. Before we start, let's quickly summarize what we did in the first episode. You were introduced to the different studio tabs such as the toolbox, the properties, and the explorer. You created your first script using script.parent and basic properties. You also briefly went through simple variables, if statements, and while loops. Now that we remember what we did the last time, let's get right into today's video. Firstly, create a new game. I recommend choosing the default base plate template. Once you are inside the Studio app, let's insert a part by clicking the part icon at the top of the screen. Make sure the select tool is selected, and afterwards select the newly created part by left-clicking it. Now that it's selected, we can go over to the Explorer tab and look for our part. We can see it right here. Let's click the plus icon next to it and insert a script. Just like last time, we can select the placeholder text and remove it, as we will not be using it in today's video. In the last episode, we created 3 different types of variables. One of them was used as a replacement to script.parent, the other one was a number, and we later set the part transparency to this number. The last one was a true/false value, which we call a boolean or bool value. I expect you guys to still be a bit uncertain of how to use these variables, so we will be practicing them some more. Let's create a new variable for our part. Pause this video and see if you can guess what it will be equal to. To create a variable for our part, we first have to figure out the location of our part. We inserted the script into our part, and that alone is enough information to know for sure that the part is our script's parent. Let's go back into your base plate and insert another part into the workspace. Resize it using the resize tool, and use the position tool or move tool to move it away. Rename the new part to something like other part. Let's go back into our script. Let's go ahead and create another variable for our other part. I recommend calling the variable other part. It's not necessary, but this way it's much better because you can instantly know what the different variables are used for instead of just typing random numbers and letters. So let's call it other part. Now it's time to find the location of our other part from our script's perspective. Pause this video and see if you can get it right. Okay, so we can first see that we have to get out of the script by doing script.parent. And then to get the workspace, we have to do .parent one more time and then do other part, like this. Keep in mind that you can also get the other part from the by using workspace.otherPart instead, but this is something that we will get into later. Let's say that I want my part to get the size of the other part and then set its size to the same size. We can do this quite simply. Just do part.size equals to other part.size. It's that simple. Every property can be grabbed just like that. It can be used for lots of things. In one of my videos, for example, where I created a placement system, I used this feature. I got the position of my mouse and set the position of my object to that same position. It's used for teleporting players as well, and a lot of other stuff. Let's go back into our base plate. Let's click this arrow and let's do run. As you can see, we now have 2 parts and both of them or size 4, 4, 4. Now that we've got an understanding of how to grab properties and reuse them, let's go ahead and try to get better at this. Let's hit the stop button over here, and let's go and see if there's any more properties that we want to steal. Let's set the material. Let's set the material of the other part to something like brick, and let's change the brick color to something like blue. Okay, now that you've done this, go back into our script, and let's go ahead and steal our material and also our brick color. Let's do part.material equals, well, other part.material, and part.brick color equals other part.brick color. Let's go back into our base plate and let's hit the run button one more time. As you can see, we now have two identical parts. They are both blue, they are both the same size, and both are of the material brick. Let's hit stop. Okay, we now have gained a bigger understanding of how to use these properties. So let's go ahead and get into the next phase of this video. You may not remember this, but a few minutes ago I said that you can also get the location of our other part by using workspace.otherPart. Now we will get back into this. So let's just remove this and let's have just the part like this. Great. So let's do local other part equals, if the object we want to use is like far away, so we have to use script.parent.parent.parent like forever, there may be some different approaches that we can use to make it faster. So instead of doing script.parent.parent.other part, we can also just do workspace.other part. So we can use that instead if you want to, which is pretty great. At this point, I think you're ready to do your very first function. So let's go ahead and just do the same thing as we did. So other part dot material equals part dot material, other part dot brick color equals, oops, I just did it the wrong way around, sorry. Part dot material equals other, yeah, part dot brick color equals other part brick color, and also part dot size equals other part dot size. Okay, so let's say that I want to do this multiple times. In my opinion, that will be just horrible because I will have to do this all over the entire script just again and again, and it's such a waste of space. Luckily, there are some alternatives. Let's go up here and let's create something that we call a function. So let's write function, and now we want to choose a name for our function. I want to call the function something like set part materials. Let's go over here and type enter. Boom. Now we have a very basic function with absolutely nothing inside. So let's go and take all of this and copy it and then paste it inside here. Now we have a function, and to call our function we can simply type set part materials down here. Now everything should be just as it was the last time we tested. Let's see. Yeah, we still have two blue parts. So let's go and create another part. Let's move it up over here, and let's call it part 2. Part 2, and let's go back into the script and let's do local part 2 equals workspace dot part 2, like this. So now we have a part, and we also have a part 2. So it would be very great if we can just do this function thing and then let the function know what kind of part we want to change the properties of. Luckily, we can do this. Let's go back into this and let's do chosen part on all of these lines. Okay. As you can see, we now have red lines underneath all of the 3 chosen parts, and that is because the script has no idea what we're trying to do. So let's go ahead and over here type chosen part. This lets the script know that the chosen part variable will be equal to the same thing that we let it know down here. So we have the set part materials, and inside these brackets we have to choose what kind of part that we want to change the properties of. Let's do part. Let's go down here and do set part materials and then part 2. Okay, so now we have 2 different parts. So let's go back inside and type run, and click run, and as you can see, we have 3 parts now, and they are all the same color, the same material, same size, but we did not have to write this all over again. So this is what we call a function, and this inside here is called an argument. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And down here we set the argument thing to part, and then down here we set it to part 2. In other words, let's say that this down here is a man called set part materials. This man, you can just go to him and then say, I want you to set this part's material to this. He will do the same thing every time. The only thing you have to do is tell him what part it is you want him to change. And that's basically what we're doing right here. We are doing the exact same thing, but just changing the part we're doing it to. So I understand these functions might be a bit hard to understand, so I want us to do a few more examples. This time, I want us to clone this other part and then create new ones. Just create new ones. So let's do stop. Let's just remove all of this, and also the part 2. We can just go back into the workspace thing and select our part 2 and delete it. Boom. So now we just have our part and also the other part. So let's go and create our function again. Function set part color, and inside these brackets we want the argument to chosen part. Boom. Let's set the chosen parts material property to other part dot material, the chosen parts dot break color to other part dot break color, and chosen parts dot what was it again? I don't remember. Break color material size. Yeah, size. Okay. Dot size equals other part dot size. Now that we have our set part color function, we can go ahead and call the function just like we did. This time, guys, we are going to clone our part and then set its properties to the same as this one. Okay, so let's go back into our script, and down here I want to make a new function called clone part. But this function will not take any arguments because we don't need anything. We will, inside this clone part, we will just do local new part equals part dot clone. Here we are cloning our part. Now that we have our part, we can do set part color and new part. And down here we can just do clone part, clone part, clone part. Now we should have 3 more blue bricks. I forgot one thing. We have to set the parent of our part as well. Because right now we are cloning the part, yes, but it gets cloned into a black void. It doesn't go anywhere. We have to say where we want our part to go. So let's over here do the chosen part dot parent equals, and where are our parts located? Workspace. Okay, let's go back into our base plate. Let's go ahead and see. Oh, yeah. As you can see, we now have a shit ton of parts. The reason this happened is because, yeah, we cloned it 3 times, but each part also has its own script. So we just get an exponential number of parts. I hope you guys learned a lot in this video. Just let me know if there's anything you want me to explain next, if you have any suggestions or anything like that. So thank you guys for watching and have a nice day.